So when you are doing self-care, there are times when we feel guilty.
Yeah.
But if you see yourself as part of the community, don't you think that you too are worthy of healing?
Well, damn.
Right? Like
if
let
you-
that sit with you. Right?
That's like a really, really good question. And I don't think I've ever formatted a question for myself in that capacity.
The podcast Chisme is not really an hour.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Chingona Chisme Hour, the podcast
Yeah.
that's not really an hour.
It's more like 3 hours.
Sometimes, no, I don't think we've had one. I think we've
I'm
only
just
had
kidding.
one that went over like an hour. But they're usually like 35, 40 minutes. E-Man's shaking his head like no. He's like, we've had a bunch go over an hour. Yeah, so welcome back. I want to introduce our really cool guest, Miss Nikki. And,
Like Nicki Minaj?
nah,
No,
girl.
okay.
She's a baddie. But she's an indigenous baddie. The indigenous
Yes.
Puerto Rican baddie. Go ahead, introduce yourself, Nikki.
Sure. Ostamaguanis, histintes wishuehuele, chinstitsi. Hello, relatives. My name is Nikki Santos. My Indian name is Huele. I'm a citizen of the Coeur d'Alene tribe, and I'm super happy to be here today.
Aw, well, welcome. You look,
So sweet.
you look beautiful, miss.
Thank you. We're in the Lauren.
Yes, we're wearing the Lauren Good Day.
Yes.
So I actually,
I didn't get the memo, guys.
girl, bye. I brought her something back and she was like, it's a no for me.
I'm not wearing that, Lauren.
No,
I
she
wear it
doesn't.
all.
She doesn't wear anything because she like puts it away. Like she doesn't want to ruin it. And I'm like,
Oh
that's
my
not the
gosh.
reason I brought you things. I brought you
I'm
things so you can
sorry.
To wear.
wear them. And she's
I'm
like,
sorry.
so she has like a closet full of like really nice clothes that she doesn't ever freaking wear.
And it's always like Lauren Good Day stuff.
Yeah, it's always Lauren stuff. So
I'm sorry, Lauren.
shout out to
But
my
I
bestie,
love you.
Lauren.
Love
Good day.
Lauren.
Yeah, so I was actually in North Dakota.
Yeah. Tell us all about that.
It was -1, and I was like, I left, and the next day was -20. And Debbie sent me a screenshot. She's like, "Aren't you glad you left just in time? Like, this is great." And I was like, I've been in cold because we lived in New York for 3 years, but I think the coldest it ever got there was maybe like 5 degrees, 3 degrees. I don't think it ever got negative. And so I took this big old suitcase. She's like, you're literally only going for 2 days. But I took this big suitcase and it was just full of sweaters and clothes because I don't have like a really heavy jacket anymore.
Fair.
And so I was like, I am not going to be cold while I am there. Like, I'm just going to go from point A to point B. I'm going to run in the car. So Lauren starts her car literally like 30 minutes before she's going to go anywhere. And I was just like, girl, how, like, do you live here? She's like, this is my home. Like, this is where my people are from. And I'm like, y'all are like a bunch of baddies because I'm like, let me take my ass back to the desert, you know?
My mom was a teacher in Barrow, Alaska, the most northern tip, and she had told me that people will leave their snowmobiles on overnight, their cars running essentially all the time, just so that they don't have to worry about defrosting or warming
Yeah,
up
that's
anything.
crazy.
Right?
Well, because they get so cold, they don't start.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's insane, like, the intensity that you feel. So, like, I had, like, she just came out with this really nice, like, down
Oh, I saw
coat,
those so
the long
pretty.
sleeve one. And I was telling Teresa, like, I was completely warm, like, where that part was covering you. But, like, my hands and my face, I felt like my face was just, like it was burning because it was so cold. And I was like, I need to put on more moisturizer. Like, I don't know.
Well, the picture you sent me, your lips were like,
Yeah, they were, like, starting to crack a
Frozen.
little bit. And I was
"Ooh,
like,
girl, it's
I made the
cold."
mistake of licking my lips out there. And when I did that, I was like, yeah, that was really dumb. But I had such a great time. I love it there. It's beautiful. It snowed all day. And then it would stop and then it would start. And Lauren's just whipping around in her Suburban, like, all fast. And I'm
She
like,
would.
and I'm like, girl, like, aren't you afraid of, like, falling off a cliff? And she's just like, no. She's just like,
I'm
Used to it.
yeah, she was just like, I was like, you know what? I'm a good driver. I consider myself a good driver, but I was literally scared. And yeah, but I love North Dakota. I love going there. I love visiting. It's like my third time there. I like to go in the summertime, like when they're having their powwows, and just kind of hang out with Lauren and get to see her, you know, get her girls ready, and Haka, her son. And I don't know, I feel like in business, like when you meet another female who is doing the same thing that you're doing, like she's not doing the same thing I'm doing, but like in the capacity, I feel like for me, I'm always inspired by it. And I always feel like this huge sense of pride as like a Chicana and indigenous and, you know, Native woman watching someone else be a mother and a partner and doing the same thing. So when she introduced me to you, I just thought like, oh, cool. Like she's another friend of, you know, of Lauren's, and like she's, you know, Lauren has cool friends, and I was like, I have cool friends. So like we're going to all be cool friends. And so, but like, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you did, because when I found that out, I was like, holy crap, like you were a whole baddie.
Oh my God. Thank you. You know, okay, well, what you had talked about with you and Lauren being inspired really resonated with me, because I just think as Indigenous women and maybe people of color in general, lateral violence is so prevalent in our communities. And to really rise above that and celebrate one another, I think is a way to also heal our people.
Yeah.
Maybe those who before us didn't have an opportunity to heal. And so I just think it's so beautiful. And I too am just so inspired by you. And so, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I guess first and foremost, I'm a mom. My baby girl's 7 years old, and she saved my life. I suffer from anxiety and depression, and her Indian name is Carries the Medicine, because she carries that good medicine for me. I didn't realize how lonely I was until she came into the world.
Yeah.
So I've lived and worked in Washington, D.C. since 2009. I came out during President Obama's first term, my forever president.
Yeah.
We'd
love to hear
with
that.
not knowing much about policy or politics,
Yeah.
but wanting something more for our people.
Yeah.
And I started at the Democratic National Committee. I worked in the finance department and really learned about the power in bringing people together over like-minded values. That's politics.
Yeah.
And from there, I worked at several nonprofit organizations for Native people, one for tribal colleges and universities, the Indian Gaming Association, and then the Center for Native American Youth, where I was the first Native American woman and youngest executive appointed into leadership in the history of the Aspen Institute.
A whole baddie.
Like it was honor. Like I felt very proud, but we don't talk enough about how tiring and exhausting it can be.
Yeah, for sure.
When you have to pave that way. And after that, I got a call from the last presidential administration to take a senior leadership position with the administration at Health and Human Services. So I took that, and now I'm reassessing what I want to do next. My job ended when the last administration ended, and I'm really enjoying finding myself, being intentional of where I want to go next.
Yeah.
And especially in a city like DC, and I'm sure you both can resonate, we pride ourselves too much on what colonial happiness should look like. And there's so many times when people ask, well, what do you do now? And because I don't have a 9-to-5 job or, you know, something that I'm working on, I've had to unlearn justifying, oh, well, it's just for right now. It's like a sabbatical. I'll be fine.
Right.
But really, this is supposed to be, I think that this is my joyous era.
Yeah.
And so I'm really enjoying being mindful with my daughter, present with my daughter, getting facials in the morning. It's like a busy day if I have a manicure appointment. Like
Right.
I'm just living the most soft, gentle life right now, and looking
Enjoy
forward to
it.
what's ahead. Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you worked your ass off. And I think sometimes, like, you know, especially like in my family, like I'm the oldest daughter, you know, like I had this huge, like, feeling and thought that I had this responsibility to be all of these things all the time. And so, you know, that feeling of being tired or wanting to take time for yourself, or like you felt selfish in that.
Yes.
And it's like, no, that's what you work really, really hard for. And like, even now with the kids, you know, if we go get our nails and our toes done, we do it, you know, during work because we don't want
To take away
time like that we have from the kids. And I think that, like, navigating that world of, you know, accomplishing and paving the way and being the first is such an honor, but it is such an undertaking. And I feel like sometimes people have this expectancy on us that, like, that we don't get tired or that we don't make mistakes, you know?
Yeah, that really resonates with me. I think about how when I left the Aspen Institute, you know, so often I took so much pride in saying that I was strong or resilient. But when you are removing your armor, you don't realize the emotional capacity that it took on you.
Yeah.
I want to pose you a question because my executive coach, shout out to Salunas, had asked me the same question. We are doing work that's healing our communities.
Right.
So when you are doing self-care, there are times when we feel guilty.
Yeah.
But if you see yourself as part of the community, don't you think that you too are worthy of healing?
Well, damn.
Right?
Like if
let
you,
that sit with you.
right.
Right?
That's like a really, really good question. And I don't think I've ever formatted a question for myself in that capacity.
Right.
And that's like, you know, like, because Teresa, like, she's with me all the time, and she's like, go to dinner with Daniel, go get your hair done, go get your nails, go get your massage, go get, like, the things that are gonna help you. And I'm always like, well, what about you? You know, my question is always like, well, what about you? Like, when is it gonna be your turn? And, like, she does these things because I make her do them, but it's never really this thought or idea in the back of my mind that I deserve those things. Like, when I'm doing them because it's a way for me to self-care, you know? And I don't think I've ever thought of it that way, like how you just questioned it. And so now I'm gonna just want to ponder on that because
I sat with it and I cried.
Yeah.
Because then you question this perception of worthiness and belonging and community. Right. And so it's kind of heavy. But what do you do to take care of yourself, Teresa?
My main thing I like to do is spend time with the family, the kids. Like, they're always my priority. And it's like, I find joy in that.
Yeah.
I find it like a mechanism for me to like cope and heal. Like, you know, my parents did certain things that, you know, I don't do, or vice versa. And it's just neat. Like, we're our own people, and our kids look up to us, and you know, they strive off of things we do for them and with them, and I find joy in that. And it's pretty neat. You know, they're like a sponge. They take in everything you say, everything you do, and it's really neat. So
I love that. Yeah, my one of my mentors had told me that you should always have a mentor that's younger than you. And so I thought to myself, what would it be like if I let my daughter mentor me? Yeah. And like to see the world through her eyes, to unapologetically just play, to be fully present. Like, there's so many lessons that our kids can teach us. So
our kids are very creative, very outspoken, overthinkers, overachievers,
so
athletic.
They do.
They're
the brown
just,
babies.
even like Anissa, she's like well, what do you think about this? And I'm like,
I think it's funny when Daniel will ask the kids questions at dinner, and Anissa will answer a question, and then you see Mateo walking from across the house, and he'll go sit back down at the dinner table just so that he can
be a part
of this conversation. And they'll talk about, you know,
everything. We talk about any and everything.
Yeah, you know, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And when I was growing up at the dinner table, we had dinner, but it was always like you were to be seen and not to be heard. And you didn't talk. Yeah. Like, you just ate your dinner and you listened to your parents talk. And so I feel like at the dinner table, Daniel has a rule, like, there are no phones allowed at the dinner table. If you bring
No
a phone...
TV, no music, no stereos.
Nothing. We are there to, like,
It's
spend time and talk to each other. And the kids know that. So they're, like, constantly, like, what are you doing? Like, put your phone away. Or,
Oh, okay.
you know, they call you out. They're just like, you're not supposed to be doing
I had
that.
my phone at the table. Who said something?
I think it was Mateo. No, it was Cheyenne.
She's like, Thea, there's no phones,
No phones at the table.
And I was like, well, I'm not on it. And she looks at her dad. And
Like, back me
Daniel's
up here,
just
Dad.
like,
There's no phones at the
there's
table.
no phones at the table.
Yeah, I think because that, like, I feel like at home at the dinner table is where you start to form your first community, like, and that's what our teaching of community starts at for our children. You know, we talk about, like, our tribe, or we talk about, like, our community,
Culture,
our
everything, our beliefs,
I think
everything.
because we're not, like, living in our adobe houses anymore and sitting around, like, fires and stuff, like, this is our home now. Like, this is our home construct. Our dinner table is the place where we start to form and teach kids about what community is, and the way they talk to each other. And so when you talk about, like, lateral violence, like, it's not just in the beauty community. It's not just in entrepreneurship. Like, it's prevalent a lot in our communities because that's what we're in, you know, constantly. But that lateral violence of, like, what makes you a Chicana, what makes you an Indigenous woman, what makes you successful, what makes you an entrepreneur. I think that those deep-rooted, you know, attacks are caused through unhealing, you know, and it's caused through insecurity, and it's caused through, like, years and years and years of trying to create something where you're being seen and you're being heard and you're being valued and appreciated. And for us, it's like we dismantle those things at home and we start those things at home. And so I think that sometimes as mothers, like, we get tired, and like, one of my favorite phrases at home to say to my kids is, like, do you not think that I am a whole human being, and that I have feelings, and that I get tired, and I have my own dreams, and I have my own wants, and I really don't want to sit down and play Fortnite for the next 3 hours. Like, I will join in when I'm ready to join in, but, like, this is not my life. Like, this is not what I want to do. Because they get so offended.
Yeah,
like, the
they
kids,
do.
they're like, why won't you play Fortnite with us?
I thought you were going to watch this movie with us, even though our movie time is Friday, you know, evenings and nights. And it's like, okay, guys, like, you guys know the rules.
Mm-hmm.
We're not watching movies on Wednesday night.
Right.
You know? So it's a lot, but
My daughter also is learning, and I think it's just maybe the age, you know, like Cheyenne 6 and Adela 7, where they're at an age where it's very egocentric. And so the other day I had a conversation with her about where I went to college and what I remember as a little girl. And she's like, you mean you were alive before I was born?
Yeah.
Like, the kids
They
just have
don't
no
have
any-
idea.
Yeah. And especially Danielito. Danielito's, like, the biggest mama's boy, and he wants to lay with me, and he doesn't want me to do anything else. So, like, I literally am just laying there, and he's right here.
Oh my God.
And, like, if
that's
I
my
want to
daughter.
move or anything, and he's just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, son, I'm thirsty. Like, can I get water? And he's like, but we're spending time together. I think it's important for your kids to know that they have a safe landing space where you're available to them. But also, too, like, as mothers, I feel like there is an importance of putting that thought and sentiment into their mind that you're a whole ass human being, like, and you don't belong to them, and that, like, you're there to support and do all of those things. And, you know, we've talked a few times about how motherhood didn't come very easy to me. I have to work really, really hard to be intentional and to be a good mom, because I didn't have, you know, those tools taught to you, right? And they're like, kids don't come with rule books, right? But if you also have, you know, trauma that you come from as, you know, as a kid, how do you stop that, like, in the now? And for me, it was like reading books. I remember having to figure out, how do I talk to Anissa, when she started talking. She was like 3 and she started talking. She didn't talk for a long time because she was bilingual.
Oh, yeah.
And like kids who are bilingual, like they take longer time to speak. And I was like, I really don't know how to talk to my child. And so that really reflected for me that, like, do I really even know how to talk to myself? Do I know how to nurture me? Do I know how, because for me it's always like success, success, success. Like drive, 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 accomplish, accomplish, accomplish. It's like, no, like, what do you do to recenter yourself so that you can be gentle with yourself and have conversation with yourself, but also how do you do that, like, with kids? And so, like, in your positions and the things that you do, like, being the first to do those things, like, I'm sure for you it kind of felt like me, like it's a lonely space sometimes.
It's really lonely. And I remember my mom told me leadership is lonely. And so I kind of went in with this mentality of, well, that's just essentially what it is.
Yeah.
Something that, as I developed self-awareness when I left the Aspen Institute, that I would come home and carry a lot of that stress and project it out on my daughter. And I had to have a really honest conversation with her where I just sat her down and I apologized for the times that I missed an important event for her, or times that I was frustrated or short or snappy with her.
Yeah.
And so it made me also realize that I don't recall my parents ever apologizing to me like that.
Right.
It was
right.
It's like, I'm sorry if you feel that way, which is a gaslighting apology. Like, let's just be real. That's not an apology. But to have that moment with her, I felt like it wasn't just healing for her, but maybe even healing for myself as well.
Yeah.
But you had said something about building a community and lateral violence and how that's really existed for a long time. So I read this book, and I really want both your thoughts on this, about how lateral violence essentially came at the onset of colonization. And it's because folks would talk down to Native people.
Hi.
Hey.
Come on in. You could just watch. Hi, Umberto.
Hi, I'm Nikki. Hey. Well, maybe we can get your thoughts on this too. But it's essentially indigenous people were talked down to from colonized people. And that's the only way that they heard people talk about them. And so oftentimes, as the generations went on, people would talk down essentially because, well, that's how I was talked to.
Right.
Whether it was in boarding school or, being forcibly removed, you're always talked down to. And so in this book I read called Legacy, it was about how sometimes we don't necessarily mean to tear each other down, but that's how our people have been talked to for so long.
Right.
So what do you think about that? Do you think there's any truth to it, or?
Yeah, because you're, like, you have a baby, you bring home this little baby and they're essentially like perfect, right? There's nothing wrong with them. Most babies are just really healthy, and I saw this meme of like a black and a white baby, and they were like playing together and they just like loved each other. You could tell that they had like an affectionate, relationship with each other. And then there's like a next slide and like they're yelling at each other. And it's like those things are taught, right? Like you teach kids how to be certain things. So if it's passed down like generation to generation, it's really hard to take a hard left and do something completely different. And Teresa and I talk about this all the time. I'm constantly like crying and asking my kids, like, what can I do better? How can I be a better parent for you? Because that wasn't asked of me. And when I think about how I talk to my children or my friends or my husband or my family in general, that constant reminder that these are also whole beings. And I think for me, it comes out of, when it changed for me was when I started going to therapy and I learned self-respect. I learned about the true meaning of what it was to be, self-respect, like have self-respect for yourself. And once I learned that, and it took a whole lot of years and a whole lot of work and a lot of tears and a lot of money and a lot of time, I think that I started to see the world in a completely different way and through a different lens, that it doesn't make me blame you or be mad at you. I can just walk away from a conversation or an interaction that maybe doesn't go very well, and I can be like, I acknowledge from a loving space that this person has a whole lot of healing to do, and whatever just happened is a personal thing with them and has nothing to do with me, like nothing at all. And I've told Teresa this like several times, like that sounds like a personal problem, and it sounds really harsh to say that, but when someone literally has their own personal problem and it has nothing to do with you, that allows you to take the time to step back, reflect on the situation, what was said, and what can I do different next time so that I can help this person. And I think sometimes our people, and I'm just saying this for my own family, I think sometimes it hurts to try to help heal yourself, but also try to take the time to heal somebody else. And when we're in these leadership positions where people are looking at us and they're trying to take examples of, well, how did you do it? For me, it's like it started with self-respect, a like very deep look in self, and how do I look for myself? And like how do I implement all of these things now into children that I'm bringing into the world? Because you don't want to create little, evil minions. Like, they can be, because kids are, wild. But, like, you got to be able to reel them in such a way that you teach them to be good, And I feel really blessed because we drive home that message a lot, that you are a reflection of us. And if you're going to go out and do, ratchet things in the world, don't tell nobody I'm your mama. Like you need to, and not to say that, I put this expectancy on our kids to be perfect, because they're not at all. But at the same time, like, I take a lot of pride and joy in claiming my children and being like, this is my son. Mm-hmm. This is my daughter. And I think that, even in friendships, when I'm claiming that you're my best friend, or I'm claiming that, yes, I'm friends with this person, it's not necessarily because of what you did or what you do. It's because I surround myself and I'm very, 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 very particular about who I do things with and what that reflection looks like, because people are looking at us. Mm-hmm. So healing as a whole comes from like this whole construct of like who is the real you all the time.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like what we were talking about over dinner last night, of being able to show up fully in a space, mm-hmm. or versus how you want people to see you. Right. And it's so hard in Washington, D.C. to constantly have to be a certain person or be on all the time. And I worry about, going back to the kids, I worry about what am I teaching my daughter, mm-hmm. as she's observing me. Yeah. And I don't know, it's just something that I had been struggled with for a while. And I really think that that's ultimately what led to me being like a very anxious person. Mm-hmm. But a lot of self-awareness and healing and reflecting, and it's obviously an ongoing journey.
It's every day.
Yeah, to where, to an extent, I've learned that other people's perceptions or views of me are really none of my business.
Yeah. They're not. Because you can't change them.
You can't change it.
And it doesn't even matter.
Yes.
Because it's not always going to be good. Mm-hmm. You're not always going to please them. And mm-hmm. you can be the perfect person in the world.
And they'll find something.
They'll still find a way to just be negative and just despise you. Mm-hmm. We're not here for that.
Right. We're not here for that. This person that I go see for some healing work had told me words don't hurt, especially if they're never true. Right. Mm-hmm. So all the people that say bad things, it's like, if I know that I'm not this, why am I allowing it to impact me? Right. So.
And those aren't even our people. Right. They can't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because nothing good is going to come from among that. And I stand on that.
What do they say? What's that saying? Not all kinship are kinship.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah, something like that.
Not
Yeah.
all skin or kin.
Yeah, not all skin or kin. You're not my friend
You're
or
not
my
my
relative. No, but like I've talked to Lauren on the phone, and that Essa's like listening, and she's like telling me like, can you believe like this person said such and such, and I'm like, why are you even like listening to that?
Entertaining it.
Like, why are you entertaining it? I'm like, like we're baddies. We don't sit down here. We don't listen to
Oh,
this.
yes.
We don't let those kinds of things like fester. She's like, yeah, I know, but, and I'm like, no, like you just gotta take it out of your
Tune it
head
out,
that we're
baby.
gonna care about that. I'm like, what are you doing, tomorrow or the next day? I'm like, you're fully walking in your purpose. You're a designer. You're an artist. I'm a community worker. Like, I do all of these different things. I think that knowing of who you are and where you're going, and this is why, I tell our kids all the time when I'm driving home about traditions and living, our traditional ways and eating our food and our food pathways, our medicine and their healing and our prayers and our things like that. And I'm like, if you know where you come from, you will know where you are going. And so that's why it's so important to me that people know, like, what are your indigenous roots? Where do you come from? What is your home? And I'm not talking about like after colonization. I'm talking about like before. And if you don't know, then figure it out, because the moment that you figure out where you come from, you're going to know where you're going. And so I just have to drive that message home to our boys all the time. They're going through like this really sensitive age in their life where, they're all going through puberty, and boys are all, with their chest out, and,
I'm stronger than you.
Yeah, and I'm like,
I got more hair over here than you.
Yeah,
Like, it's the armpit thing. We're doing an armpit hair check, and you would not believe it.
no, I'm like, what you really need to do is put some deodorant on.
Please.
Like, please. And, and they're just like, they're looking at us like, you're embarrassing us. But it's like, no, I'm trying to help you navigate, like, this really awkward phase in your life. But if like, at the end of the day, what you're going to, like, how you're going to walk in your life, like, that self-care and that self-love for yourself starts at home. And we always drive that, like, you drive at home how you want your kids to treat other people, also how they're going to treat themselves.
That's true.
And so it's just like, I don't know, I feel like when we're in these spaces and, they're looking at us and they're like, we'll go to powwows or markets and they're like, why aren't you at home with your kids? Like, we've gotten comments like that. Like,
I have too.
Why aren't you at home with your kids? And it's like, you know what? My kids are perfectly happy at home with their father. Like, it's important for there to be father's presence in your life. And if they're not, they have people like us, their aunties and their uncles, like, who come in and rally and help you raise, like, amazing kids. And so I think that it just comes full circle with community. And, also what you're talking about, like, including yourself in that circle, because I think as successful women, like, we exclude ourselves from that circle because we're trying to work so hard to build that circle and what it should look like, that we probably neglect ourselves a lot.
Yeah. I got that same, I've gotten so much hate of like, why aren't you at home with your kids? Whether it's at a powwow in the summer, it's like, my daughter doesn't even like to go to powwows.
Yeah.
I'll ask her, she's like, no thanks. So it's like, okay. But I mean, that kind of goes to that concept, Michelle Obama's theory of when they go low, you go high.
Yeah.
But to Teresa's point, like, sometimes it just feels so good to have someone feel my wrath.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to go high.
So I'm the Pisces. I'm like, everyone love each other. She's not. She's like a Taurus, and she's like, I will strangle you. Like, do not talk about my friend. And I'm like, girl, like, we're not entertaining these,
I'm like, where are they at? Show me.
I'm like,
Send me the profile.
Yeah,
Keyboard warrior.
What? And I was just like,
I'm ready to go.
I have a whole security guard here, like, but I think that a lot of times, like, navigating in this space and success, like, it still makes you want to give back and help heal your community, and whatever that looks like for you. And I know, like, the nonprofit work that you do, like, it really is about giving back and like doing work. And so when we're doing those things here and people are like, how does makeup really like heal people? It's like, you don't understand. Taking 5 minutes of your day to put on makeup is self-love. Like, you are taking those 5 minutes to tell yourself, like, I deserve to look my very best, even if I don't feel that way. Something clicks in your mind when you put on lipstick or mascara or something and you look at yourself and you're like, holy crap, like, I'm actually really beautiful.
I thought about that this morning with your business, especially, is that it's not just makeup, it's confidence building, it's empowering.
It is.
It's a way for whoever touches your makeup to show the world, I am a powerful, beautiful human.
Right.
And so I was thinking about that this morning of like, it's not just makeup, it's so much more.
It's so much deeper.
Yeah,
than
and
that.
it's like, you could even go as far to say it's healing work, because if this
Right.
person's learning how to love themselves, they're learning how to make themselves feel and look good,
Yeah.
then it's healing. So
Yeah.
I just love this brand. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, I just, we were on a call yesterday with the Cheyenne River reservation, and some of their, they put together like a project that they do every year for the girls, and we're going to donate.
Is it the Cheyenne River Youth Project?
Yeah.
Were you on the phone with Julie Garrow?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my girl.
Yeah,
Oh, I
so
love
we were on
Julie
the
so
phone with
much.
her yesterday,
She's
and
fabulous.
she was just like, I'm so blown away by like the work that you do. Like, it's not just you selling makeup. And I'm like, no, like, you can say that we sell a product, but what we get back from selling that product is the ability to give back to our girls, to our LGBTQ spirit communities. Like, it's protection, it's medicine. And so she was just like so grateful for, what we're going to donate to them. But for us, it's like, as a business model, I'm so grateful that we have the ability to do that, because you have so many businesses who are tied into like investments and stuff like this, that they don't have the ability to give back the way they would, because they have to pay back like, money or so back their business, like, for you investing in it. And so I think that the beautiful thing about Prados is, that our people built this brand. They understood my vision, my mission, what our work was going to be, and we stood on that, because you could talk all day about what you want to do and say X, Y, and Z, but if you don't deliver, the aunties are the first one to come at you and just be like, girl, this was not it. Like, you said you were going to do X, Y, and Z. If you don't do that for our community, like, they will teach you a lesson in that. And thankfully, we've never had to get those types of lessons, but for aunties to buy your stuff, vet your things, and then say, like, this is really good things, to me, that brings me more joy than anything else that we've ever accomplished, because you know that you've truly built something for your people.
That's really sweet. I feel like your values and how you center community is very like-minded of Julie Garrow and what she's built with the Cheyenne River Youth Project, really seeing a need in the community to address Native youth suicide on the reservation, to not even fully realizing when she had started. She started the Cheyenne River Youth Project in an abandoned bar in Eagle Butte, South Dakota. And now it is a beautiful, thriving building, a gym, a library. They bring in folks for residency, artists to teach the kids. And they have the Red Can Graffiti Jam. They do the fashion show every year. She does so much. And it's a reflection of meeting the needs of the kids.
Right.
And it's just such a beautiful, And I hope, I hope there's more opportunities for you two to collaborate. I mean, even what you're doing with Lauren and collaborating with like-minded leaders to lift each other up, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I think too, like, she invited me to go.
You have to go.
She's like, I hope you have time to like come out here and like see and experience.
I'll
like,
go with you.
You
should. When
should.
it is.
Because I was like, I go to South Dakota, North Dakota every summer, and I just need to make my way over there. But
she makes really good fry bread too.
does she?
Yeah, she's like,
yeah.
Who's that? Lorena?
No,
Julie.
Julie.
Oh,
Yes, yeah, she's a
She's
great
like,
cook.
she makes the best fry bread.
She does.
I'm gonna be
Full
like, you know
stop.
what? Nikki said you make the best fry bread.
Yes, yes.
I'm demanding fry bread. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Now.
So at the Chingona Chisme Hour, we have like a a unanimous, anonymous, not unanimous, an anonymous. So I was trying to teach Cheyenne the other day. Cheyenne just barely started to learn how to like speak, you know, and Daniel hates it that she doesn't do this anymore. She used to call like mazagines.
That's so cute.
So I'm like, when I'm trying to teach her how to like say words properly, it reminds me of myself so much because English wasn't my first language. And so like now, even as an adult, when I'm trying to like speak, sometimes I'll be like, what's the word in English? Like, because I forget it all the time. But
that's like my daughter too. She says literary. I literally just did that. I literally cannot.
But yeah, we have this the Chingona Chisme Hour. It's a form on Google. It's anonymous. You can submit like questions or you can submit like stories. And we kind of just like, we're going to talk about it during the podcast. So we have a couple questions. And usually they're funny. Sometimes we have like really funny stories. Like one of the stories a couple weeks back was like that they went to their auntie's house during like the Thanksgiving weekend and they made Navajo tacos, but they tasted like Belagana tacos.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, you guys
That's fighting words.
For real. I was like, your auntie is probably not going to invite you back. And then they like followed up the next week. They're like, she still won't talk to me. Like, I'm like, yeah, because you called her tacos, Belagana tacos.
That's hilarious.
Okay, but one of the Chingona Chisme Hour anonymous questions is, some of these we've already answered. Let me go all the way to the bottom. What do you and Teresa like to do for fun? I feel like you guys are always at work or with your kids.
Is that not fun?
Yeah,
it's fun. We're actually basketball coaches, so we not only just take our boys to practice, but we actually also coach basketball, and that's fun to me. It's fun for me to be there and to be able to teach my kids like a skill. It's not really about like if you can make shots or not. It's really about the experience of having confidence. And I feel like I lacked that a lot as a kid. You know, I was very confident in my ability to play sports, but when I would look at myself in the mirror, like, you're constantly living in this Western world of what beauty looks like. And when you're going through like a, you know, a time in your life where you're constantly changing and things like that, like I feel like I lacked a lot of confidence. So for me, my favorite things to do is to really hang out with my kids and my husband and my best friend and just kind of chill, like not really be on constantly. But I don't know. I guess that your favorite thing to do too. I don't know.
I mean, you know me, I like to just be creative. I like to like do things with the kids, like cook or show them something really quick, or like do a really quick craft, like make something and give it away. You know, it has meaning behind it, or it shows them, you know, you don't always have to just play video games. You don't always have to just be on the computer or your phone or this or that. Yeah.
I like to be outside.
We are outsidey people.
Yeah, same.
Polaris rides.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
I like to work out.
Yeah.
I feel like the gym is an adult jamboree class. I think it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next question is, what is the next event that you're going to do? Are we going to Gathering of Nations, Black Hills? Yeah. So I think our next event is Gathering of Nations. We'll be at Albuquerque in April. We're going to be there vending with Lauren. And then I'm also going to be hanging out with you. So yeah.
So you're going to go to Gathering?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I love the Gathering. I love it so much. I love what the Matthews family does for the community, for our people, and the platform that they create. It's so much more than just a powwow. It's Stage 49, it's vendors, it's supporting small businesses.
Right.
But I have the fun privilege of being an MC. I am the only female MC that they bring on, and I get to interview some folks. So I've already said I want to interview you. Yeah. I'm also on the Miss Indian World Committee, and so young women from Indigenous communities from all throughout the Americas compete for the title of Miss Indian World.
Yeah, they all come and buy lipstick and lashes, last minute things. Yeah. They ask her to put the like they'll buy them and they'll ask her to put lashes, I'm about to go on. Can you do lipstick? Can you put my blush on? It's really neat. Last year was my first year going. Yeah, and it was a blast. Yeah, we had a line, right? The whole.
I remember. I remember
our
walking.
Booth is insane.
I remember walking by and I kept being like, "I'll just come back when the crowd dies," and the crowd never died.
It didn't, and it was so much fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was good people. We didn't have any bad experiences or anything.
Yeah, I love the
and
gathering.
Miss Lonnie, she's so sweet.
Oh yeah, Miss Lonnie.
She takes really.
Oh, Lonnie's awesome,
yeah,
right?
She's
so good.
And she makes sure that,
love her.
Yeah, we do. We love Miss Lonnie, not just because she takes care of us, but she's like a whole vibe.
Yeah. She's genuinely so sweet.
Yeah, she is.
And she's also boss.
She is. She's a baddie for sure. Yeah. I'm like, dang, Miss Lonnie, like, I want to be
we
like
needed
you.
extra room, and she was all right there. You just take all that space.
Yeah.
Okay.
She hooked us up. So I'm like, shout out to Miss Lonnie. But yeah, we're going to be on the road more this year. We're going to be out at powwows and markets more this year. Daniel's getting ready to deploy. And I need to be busy because if I'm idle, I'll just be missing him. No. So I need to be busy. So we're going to be going to a lot of powwows and markets this year. And then hopefully we're going to be able to take the podcast on the road.
You have to.
Yeah, definitely going to gatherings is one of the places where we could do like a live podcast. And so that would be really cool. But yeah, we're still starting to work on our Indigenous Peoples Day collection that we launch every year in October. We're about to launch a new collection in JCP. I'm really excited for that. We got to reshoot all of the campaign for that. And
I have something. I don't know if y'all know or seen or watched the Super Bowl, but it was kind of a big ordeal for us. So surprisingly, tell us about that. What happened?
Okay, so like Google hit me up last year about doing like a mini video, and they do a lot of internal films just for Google and their products that they come out with, and they do a lot of reports and stuff, and some of them are video reports, but I thought that's what it was, that it was just an internal Google thing. And because I thought it was internal, I allowed my kids to be in it because I'm very private about the kids. I don't post the kids on social media very often. Anissa does because she's 16 and like she's consented to be on social, but I just don't do that for my kids. And so I was like, oh, this is internal. It's kind of cool. Like, let's do it. They came and they shot in December. And then 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, they sent me an email and they're like, hey, congratulations. In case you didn't know, like, this is actually a Super Bowl commercial. And I was like, what? And I was like, what do you mean? Like a Super Bowl commercial, like, that you're doing on YouTube? Because they have ads everywhere. And I was like, they're like, no, we bought 12 national spots for a national campaign. And then we bought 50 spots for every state. And you're the New Mexico business. And I was like, I literally sat on the floor and I was like,
they're like, just so you know, we spent over $1 billion.
They've spent $1 billion. Google did for the whole Super Bowl thing. And I was just like,
insane.
So we had a little Super Bowl thing. We were sitting on the couch. They didn't tell us when it was going to air. We were just kind of waiting. Yeah. And it was right after the
Kendrick Lamar show.
Yeah.
When everyone's watching.
Everybody was watching.
It came up like 30 seconds later.
Oh.
our phones were just going crazy, like text message, calls.
They still are kind of.
Yeah. They were on the website. They were shopping. They were buying and all kinds of stuff.
Last week, it was crazy. We have people coming here in tears.
Yeah, just telling us their stories.
Yeah,
like how they saw themselves like reflected in this commercial. And you don't really think that those things are impactful, but like when you're from a certain generation, I feel like those customers who come in and like share their experiences with us, they're from a generation where like their parents didn't allow them to speak Spanish anymore, that everything was about education, the American dream, that you have to wear your hair like this and you have to dress in this certain way. And I feel like them seeing us be authentically ourselves and including ourselves in what the definition of beauty and success looks like, I feel like they just feel some kind of way that like they can share that with us. It's like a safe space. So they come in and they're just like, we're so proud. And I'm just like, thank you. Now, you know, we go to dinner and we're like, who is here? And who is watching us, because now everybody knows you, you know, and so it's just this continuous responsibility to be a good example of what being a good person looks like and what you can do with success if you just work really hard and do everything with good intention and heart. And I think that when you do those things, like nothing can go wrong. So shout out to Google for giving us that platform. Yes. Because I don't have $1 billion to spend on a commercial, and you know, highlighting our people and our work and what we do, I think is, you know, really important. So,
what did your kids think? Were they like, "That's me, that's my mom"? I mean, just kind of what was the vibe of
It was them going to school to get the reaction. They're like, "Hey, we seen you like on TV during the Super Bowl,
yeah,"
and then. They're like, you're famous?
Yeah. And so my son, Mateo, had a hard time last year with a boy that was like bullying him. And he went to school and he'd been telling this little boy, like, you don't know me or like where I come from. He's like, my mom is X, Y, and Z. And he was like, I could give 2 cares about your mom.
He's all, yeah, Google it.
Look my mom.
Up on.
And he would just pick on my son. I love that
those are fighting words.
Yeah. Google my mom. And he would not, and he would just pick on Mateo. And then so he went.
Like call him a girl because of his long hair.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm indigenous.
Like, yeah.
This is my culture.
So after the Google commercial aired, he came home and he was like, I'm not going to say the little boy's name, but he's like, he saw the commercial. And he's like, your mom really is like that girl. And he was like, yeah. And I'm in it too. And I was just like, you know what? Like, in what world did that happen for our people? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, how many kids get to say that?
Yeah.
And for me, it's just really important to be able to pave that way for not just my kids, but our kids that are coming, you know, the generations that are coming up. Like, the possibilities of seeing yourself included is so important. And so, to me, I'm just grateful for all of that. And, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I don't even have the words, really. I'm just like, this is really cool. I'm just going to do cool stuff. Yeah. But, Nikki, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. This was
fun. Yeah, you had to come back.
You're amazing.
I know. It's a cool little break from DC for you. She's like, what do you do here? And I'm like, I chill, girl.
I'm loving this weather. Mm-hmm. But I love this pace of life out here. It's so calming and peaceful and feels so good. So
it's like homey, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Well, you're always welcome to come hang out. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks.
You guys be sure to like and subscribe. Sharon always say that. Don't forget to subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
And thank you for joining us on the Chingona Chisme Hour, the podcast that's not an hour. This one was an hour.
Yeah.
Feels like this was
Is it an hour? Yeah. Oh, not even an hour.
Yeah. Even's like, are we done?
No, at 54.
Okay.
54.
It was less than an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
do you have any jokes? No, I'm just kidding.
Tell us a joke.
We got to tell us off camera. Our jokes got it off.
I got one joke, and it was Ruben Littlehead, It was like, okay, white people's vowels are A-E-I-O-U, but Indians' vowels are E-I-O-U-A.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Wait,
told
where
me
is
that
she
joke and I
going
was
with
just like,
this?
He's like, I'll pay you later. I'll buy you some hot Cheetos and a Pepsi some other time.
Pepsi.
A Pepsi. But no. Whenever we're telling jokes, we don't really tell jokes. We just make E-Man make the goat noise for us, and we just crack up and laugh.
Okay. E-Man, when they asked you to do it, and I wasn't sure what to expect, but what got me wasn't necessarily the noise. It was the look you got in your eyes, that laser focus.
He's like, this is my moment to shine.
Yes.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
It's a good impression.
It was great.
Yeah. We'll have to have a whole podcast of introducing you and your special talent, E-Man.
All right, all guys. Be as talented as E-Man.
I know, right? Everyone should try to achieve the amount of success that E-Man has. But yeah. Thank you guys, and be good to yourself and be good to others. Love and light. Bye.
Bye.